Hey, everybody in YouTube land, this is No Level Cap, and today we're going to talk about what video games we've been playing.
Yo, what's good, people? Welcome back to the No Level Cap podcast with all your friendly neighborhood black nerds, where we cover all the anime, all the gaming, absolutely zero of the BS. We have a new episode every Monday morning. I am your host, Sage Ashford. These are my co-hosts, Rakeem Beck, Devin Butts, and Terrence Flowers. This week, like Rakeem said, we wanted to go ahead and take a little bit of a break from covering like constant different topics and whatnot, and just talk about what video games we've been getting into lately. I mean, like it was supposedly a video game podcast. We rarely get a chance to talk about like what games we're playing in the moment. We're always looking forward to like, okay, well, what's about to come out, or like who messed up in the video game industry or something like that. And I this is a chance for us to get a little bit more positive, talk about what games we've been playing, what games we've hopefully been enjoying. I know Devin not too long ago has been playing some Steve Next Fest stuff, so I hope he found some gems in there. I know he had told me about a couple of games that were not as great. So let's find out. Devin, what you been playing, bro?
Been kind of a variety of stuff. Like you just mentioned, I did try some stuff on the Steam Next Fest. Had some pretty good stuff on there. It has some stinkers as well, but I mean that's just kind of to be expected. So I guess I'll start with a few of those games. One I actually downloaded. I'm just watching the trailer. There's a game called Gear Grit, and it's literally just a Jack and Daxter 2 I don't want to say spiritual successor, but it's basically Jack and Daxter 2. If you play Jack and Daxter 2, you look at the style of it, you look at the animations, the moves, the attacks. Even when you play the game, you start out and the area looks just like Jack 2. You steal cars, you got the spin attack, you got the roll, the jump, the punch. So I'm like, yeah. So I downloaded that one just on the fact that, I mean, if you watch the podcast, you know, I always, every year, I'm like, Jack 4 is coming out this year, and that will never stop. Either this year, Jack 4 is coming out. If it don't come out this year, it's coming out next year. So just keep that in mind. Don't say I didn't say it here. So yeah, I mean, it was just like a shout out to the old school, like 2000s PS2 not RPGs, adventure games.
It literally says that on the Steam page, like inspired cool. Platformer inspired by your favorite PS2 games.
Yeah, it's I mean, you play it like it doesn't, it even has the same like look to it. It looked like something that could have been on PS2, like an early PS2 platformer. It surprisingly runs pretty well. Like the controls and stuff are pretty smooth. So I mean, they got that down because a lot of those games had pretty solid controls, even back in the PS2 era. So just playing it feels like, man, I feel like I just open the PS2 tray and pop this in. So that was pretty cool. Of course, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I haven't beat it just yet, but I have put a good amount of hours into it. And there are a few games on this list of the reason why I haven't beat it, but one of those games I had to uninstall because it just wouldn't work for me. But yeah, loving Final Fantasy VII, man. Of course, I mean, I know it came out last year, but I still haven't hopped into the PS5 train. I'm still mainly playing stuff on PC. So,
where are you in Rebirth?
I just got past Costa del Sol, so it's like chapter 7 where you get to.
Because I've been you trucking.
Oh yeah, he's going. I'm also playing I'm also playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I've finished basically the first zone. Did all the stuff in the first zone. I know you said at the time that you weren't doing. You were just basically just gonna rush through the story. Did you stick with that?
No, I just went on and like most of the stuff in the zones. I got like the first 2 sections, the grasslands and Juno, and I just went on and got everything. I remember like the mini games were like a talking point when the game first came out. People were like, man, there's so much to do. There's too much to do. This is too many hours, too much content. I'm of the idea when a game gives me all the content, I want it because first of all, I want to feel like my money was well spent. So I haven't had an issue with the mini games. I can see what people were talking about, but the original one had a lot of stuff in it too. And I enjoyed that's part of why I enjoyed the game. You had the golden sauce, you had all these arcade games, snowboarding, motorcycle, arm wrestling, basketball, all of it, you name it. And that's what I loved about FF7. So I'm just like, if you give me that again, I really don't mind too much. So yeah, I've been doing like those little like get all the stuff. It's a lot of stuff in the area sometimes, but like it's just kind of like you explore the area. The game looks beautiful, so why not? let's see something else from the next fest I played.
I'll say, since we on the topic of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth,
Mhm.
I really have been digging that game. The little bit I got a chance to play, I played it when it first came out on PC, and I stopped right after I beat Leviathan, so I don't have Yuffie yet. Basically, it was like you were gonna meet Yuffie the next day, I think, and so like I did the whole thing where you go back to the inn, and then after that, I kind of put the game down because Avowed came out and Trails came out, and obviously that lets you know what I'll be talking about later. I will say the battle system, a lot of fun. I'm still adjusting to it because I mean, like I still kind of miss turn based, but I'm adjusting to it. Uh, Man, everything about that game is just A1 to me. I don't know what everybody. I saw somebody complaining about it the other day, complaining about exactly what Devin said, like, "Oh, it's too many mini games," and "Oh man, there's really no story to the game," and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Everything I've played has been fire. I hadn't gotten to like Costa del Sol. So I mean, I still got to do like the Junon thing, but like just the fact that they were able to just bring so much of the original game to life and do it at the fidelity and the level that they've done it at is just fantastic. They fleshed out these characters so well. The whole party, like the only place I've seen a more likable party is in like Trails. Everywhere, like most JRPGs usually don't have a party where I just like everybody, but like Final Fantasy VII has done that for me. Like where I just really like, I fuck with everybody, all of the characters, even Cloud, as he tries to be like a super cool guy, but he comes off like a dork because he's got all these memory problems and shit. It's still just so much fun. And I wasn't even someone that had a ton of nostalgia for FF7. I played it. It was the reason I got into gaming seriously, but it was not like I just watched my cousin play it, and then after that, I was like, I never really went back for it, and so I was like, all right, sure, I'll play the remake, and I've been digging. I dug the remake, and I really dig Rebirth, and I do want to get back to this hopefully sometime in the summer. What other games are you talking about, Devin?
So actually, real quick, I just want to say because I could talk about FF7 all day, but I will say like when I first booted up the game, I'm not gonna lie, it was like tears are welling up in my eyes because like this is my favorite game of all time, and to see how they transform this game, like hearing the music in the overworld, seeing like the stuff and like seeing how they translate it, going to the chocobo farm, seeing the chocobo, I'm like, bro, this is stuff like that will ever have like a place like in my brain and my heart, like just it was just crazy. And like Say said, seeing the party, seeing all 6 people standing together in the world back when
so
we
cool.
was just like Cloud in the overworld, they didn't
all go inside him.
And they go inside them somehow with the PHS system, which I don't know. Oh, I'm gonna call you. Hey, ain't you right here though? Why would I have to call you? I think that I wish they had to like kind of kept that because like I don't even know what PHS stood for. Party home. I don't know what it stood for. But like just seeing how that translates, seeing everybody on a chocobo, seeing Red 13 ride a chocobo is like, why are you riding a chocobo?
Bro,
but it's
the
funny.
first time I saw that animation, I was like, I can't have Red 13 in my party at this point. Like I can't seeing him ride the chocobo just looks ridiculous.
I mean,
actually, I still like go back. I like tilt the camera when I got Red 13 in my party just to see him ride the.
Yeah, and then like
laid out.
Like some 300 muscle bound dude on a chocobo's bird. Like, man, this dude heavier than me. Wait till you see Red 13 moonwalk. Red 13 wilding in this game, man. Like,
wilding.
They gave him some personality. I'm like, this is like literally the game that I played back when I was like 6 or 7, just now in modern times. Even the moment where you fight the guys in the robe or on the boat, and then one of them like transform. They kind of like dive deep into it and show you. I'm gonna stop talking because I can talk about the game all day. But a few more games. I got like 10 on this list, so I'm gonna try to be fast. What's the other one I played from these Steam Fest? Beyond the Ice Palace 2. I played a little bit of that. Very solid Metroidvania. If you like Metroidvanias, try that out. It's very actually an homage back to old school Castlevania, like Super Castlevania 4 on SNES, because you can do like the whole little grapple hook. He had like the whip, and he could like swing with it. That was really solid. Played a game called Haste. It's basically like Sonic, what I wish Sonic was, but it's like you're running away from like the environment that's like deteriorating behind you. It's like really fun, really super crazy sense of speed. Just a fun game. Gotten back into Street Fighter 6. I've been playing that some more. Capcom Cup just ended.
So you didn't You're not one of the ones that went back to Street Fighter 5, huh?
Nah. I'm not. Why would I do that? Like,
I mean, that was a thing for a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
yeah,
It was.
for somebody else, not for me. I play Street Fighter 4 before I play Street Fighter 5.
Say it
Damn.
again. Say it again for those in the back.
I will play Street Fighter 4 before I play Street Fighter 5.
That's what I'm
Hey,
talking
if you
about.
like it, that's cool. But Like a Dragon, I tried out the pirate Yakuza game. Very fun game. Like, it's just again almost like a blast to the past. Like, because this game Yakuza came out on PS2, so it's just like crazy hack and slash action, a bunch of nonsense. He making clones and spinning and attacking and doing all this and running around the world saying hey to everybody on the beach. Like, fun game. I might actually go ahead and get that full game. It's so much fun. Finally started up Death Stranding. I've had this game for a while, but Death Stranding 2, that trailer got me so hyped. I'm like, I need to go ahead and play this game.
Yo, man. I don't give a fuck about Death Stranding, but that trailer was
amazing.
It's one of the best
Everything
trailers
about
I've
it
ever
was
seen.
well done. Like, exactly. One of the best trailers I've ever seen. Like,
The fact that it was 10 minutes, like, man.
10 minutes.
and I was locked in the whole 10 minutes. Like, I still don't really like that universe, not my style of universe, but like just
Oh yeah, definitely.
seeing the level of writing and the level of creativity on display, it's like, damn, oh yeah, this is what it's like when you have a director that has an actual vision. And it ain't like, oh, I'm trying to make some money. It's just like, well, obviously they're still trying to make money, but like the money isn't the first thing that they're thinking about. It's just like, how can I put my vision out to the world, something that's unique, something that's going to touch a lot of people. Like, man, every minute I was like, holy shit, this is really well done.
Yeah.
I thought about picking that up too. I missed the sale on it though. Like, it was on sale on PSN, and I thought about buying it, but then it went away. I was like, well, it'll come back, so I'll get the.
You would think
director's
that'd be
cut
a
at some
class.
point.
You think Death Stranding would be a classic game, right? So it'd be fixed at like $20 or $25.
They don't do that no more.
Yeah, they don't really do. It is on the PS Plus Essential, whatever the mid tier is. You can get it from there, but like the director's cut isn't on there. It's just regular Death Stranding.
Yeah. It's like
I want a
$20 on
director's
Steam
cut.
right now. I think I got it on Epic when they had it like free for, I think it was like Christmas.
There's a Steam, the Steam Spring Sale is going on right now, so just about everything you can imagine is on sale at the moment. How you liking Death Stranding though?
It's actually, I'm not gonna lie, just like this trailer. When the first game came out, the trailers, he dropped like 3 or 4 trailers, and everyone was like, "Bro, like I gotta play it. I gotta know what's going on." I will say the gameplay, like it was nothing like I was expecting totally. But when I'm actually playing it, I'm like, I actually like this. It actually puts me in the mind of Shadow of the Colossus, which was a game it wasn't your normal game. There's no enemies to fight except for the Colossi, and it's like everything else is just traversal and taking in the world. And this game, Death Stranding, is like very similar to that, because like the movement is not what I thought it was. You actually have to control Sam. Like, it's not like you just run around. He can fall over. You have to like press, like balance him. Like if he's falling to the left, you have to like switch the weight to the right. I'm like, oh, so this is a lot more interactive with this than I thought it was. So, and you got these BTs,
I ain't gonna lie,
the atmosphere.
For a second, you reminded me of another game that
Baby steps.
Oh,
hey, Rakeem knew exactly what I was doing.
No, it's not as stupid as that is, but it is like it's like a momentum based thing. Like when he's going downhill, it's like you're actually going downhill. Like if you don't stop and brace yourself, you're gonna fall. I actually fell off a cliff because I didn't know that. Like I just fell. I'm like, wait, I can't stop myself. I'm like, oh, you have to like control him. I just fell off a cliff. But just visually, it's like this game and Ghost of Tsushima are, in my opinion, the first 2 PS5 game, next gen games. This game looks ridiculous. This was the first Death Stranding. It came out on PS4. And I'm like, this game looks ridiculous. But it's Kojima. He always does that. He's like one of my favorite people in the video game sector. Again, because of what he's doing. Like, this is so creative. He left Konami. He's like, all right, I got you. I'm gonna do my own thing. And now he's just the worlds he develops, the visuals, like just the intrigue. It's just like, bro, like what type of level is he on?
Man, I'll tell you something else he's done. He's developed like 2 games in 9 years. That's incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
And got another one for Xbox coming.
Built a studio, and that too. Built a studio from the ground up, put out a game. I said, shit, Microsoft, they've been that Fable game, Playground Games has been working on that for like since 2013 or some shit. Like they started that studio. It was like a new version of Playground Games that they were working on, and like, oh, we working on a new IP. and they were working on it and working on. I don't know if that IP got canceled or if it transformed into Fable or if it was always gonna be Fable. But like that shit dates back 12 years, and Fable got pushed to next year.
Yeah.
And Kojima like, nah, bro. Like I'm gonna build the studio. We gonna make a game in 4 years because it came out I think in 2020, and then the sequel's gonna come out in 5 years. Like,
yeah. In just a few months. It comes out June 26th, which is crazy. I know everybody get tired of seeing like Jeff when he brings them on stage, but there's a reason why Jeff has a regard for Kojima the way he does, because he's like one of the masterminds in gaming. You can't deny that. So I'm gonna stop talking about that. Just name a few more. Kazan, I played the demo of that, freaking loved it. It comes out in 2 weeks. I would definitely be playing that. That game is amazing. It's basically the Lies of P of this year. Lies of P was the great new Souls like that came out in 2023. People were saying, "Oh, it's average run the mill." If you thought that was run the mill, I don't really know what you think a terrible or a good game is, because it is the best Souls like, the best. There is no other game that's not Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, or Elden Ring that's better than Lies of P that's not made by From Software. That's in the discussion. What else? I'm gonna name a few more. I've gotten back into Devil May Cry 5. Kind of want to play it again with the Virgil DLC. That's been fun. Playing Overwatch 2 because I can't play Marvel Rivals because for some reason I have a PC that can run it, but it just doesn't want to run. So I uninstalled it and I'm playing Overwatch 2. All right, cool. Play Fragpunk. I'll have to give them respect because this game is super creative. It has an old school arcade style, but trying something new like Valorant mixed with Call of Duty. Very interesting game. Very interesting game. And I think that's gonna be it for me because I got a lot more on this list, but I don't want to take up too much time. But yeah, been playing video games. That's the end of it.
Man, shotgunned it. But I mean, that was a lot of gaming going on. The only thing I want to add, because I did forget about this, and I'm not gonna go back to Final Fantasy VII, but I will say, man, I just can't figure out Queen's Blade. Like I tried it, I played the first game and like the tutorial game, and I was like, okay, and I felt like I knew what I was doing, and in every subsequent game, I've won, but I'm always like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And I think I know what I'm doing. And then the next thing I know, like the opponent's taking over half the board. And I'm like, okay, restart. Let's go back and go and figure this out. So I'm like, okay, eventually I'll get the hang of it.
Yeah, I think, because it's literally just the game from FF8, but just a little different. It kind of works the same way, even like Triple Triad. But if you can play Yu-Gi-Oh! Sage, you can definitely just give it like a few more games. Yeah, it'll click. It clicked for me.
So it clicked for me. So I'm gonna tell you what secret is. So early on, you're just not given enough of the actual full mechanics. There are way more mechanics you get later. And like the type of decks you play, this type of strategies you play, it feels limited in like the scope of what the decks you can play. Because I primarily played like a doubling points kind of system where I got like a mini chocobo card and we get points based on what I summoned, and there's cards that get points on what the opponent summoned, and then eventually you get to like go over cards and like eat them, and that's like a completely different mechanic. So I would say don't worry so much about early on, just find a very simple strategy, and then later build your actual deck and strategy once you have all the mechanics, because you're not given enough of the mechanics early on to get a full grasp of how the game works.
Yeah. I mean, I looked online trying to get some tips, figured it out, and like they made it seem like this is basically a more complex version of Gwent, and only slightly at that, in that like once you figure it out, it's like a game that you can solve pretty easily at that. Yeah. Like there's just some solvable elements, and then like you can just build the right deck and play the right way, and it's effectively impossible for you to lose, like once you know what you're doing. And so like I know that I just need to get the hang of it. I mean, like where I am, I've basically only played like maybe 4 matches.
Oh, okay. Maybe. Yeah. You definitely need more time. Yeah.
I beat everybody in Calm, and then after that I went to like Junon, and I don't think I might have played one person in Junon.
Dude, where that story goes is crazy. And
once you get to Junon, that's gonna be a few matches where you kind of have to learn more, because you fight I forgot the chick's name. She's like the champion. Then you fight Red 13 for whatever reason, and that's when you have to be like, okay, you gotta figure out what's going on. But it's like the placement, the numbers, those are like the most important thing. Then making sure when you mulligan, you got cards you can actually play like on turn 1. Yeah. If you don't have that, then that's when you screwed.
Well, I mean, that's just basic.
Most games,
yeah. But yeah, I'll get back to it and figure it out because I do want to go back to Rebirth. I will make time for that this year. It's my goal to go ahead and finish that at some point. Terrence, what about you, man? What have you been up to gaming wise?
So I'm not going to have as extensive of a list as Devin, but I do have some games that I have been dabbling with that I can talk about. One is Marvel Rivals. Like everyone else, you know, it's the hot commodity and everyone is giving it a go, and I decided to as well. I'll admit, like, I've never played a hero shooter before. I've never been like super big into it, but trying this one, I could definitely see the appeal. Like I could see why. Well, first off, I mean, it's Marvel, baby. So, you know, everybody's gonna, there's so many characters that they could tap into. Like they could keep this game going honestly forever if they wanted to, because there's so many people they can pull from the Marvel universe. And in some way, there's somebody out there that's going to be into it because such and such character is in the game. Not to mention like the cool costumes that they have and just the art direction for the game. I know some people don't like maybe how over the top some of the character designs can be, but I think that they made a choice and they went with it. And sometimes when it comes to art, that's kind of what you have to do is sometimes you make that bold choice and some people might mess with it and others might not. But for me, for the most part, I think the character designs are really cool and make them stand out from how you normally see them. Like if anything, one thing that I can give Marvel Rivals is I look forward to each character reveal because I'm looking forward to how each character is going to look in this particular game. Yeah, I just dabbled with it a little bit. I played a little bit in like the training arena and messed around with a few characters, but I don't know. For me, I think I'd have to, it's one of those games where I'd have to really get like super invested into it before, I could see myself just playing just a ton. Like I probably have to play every day in order for me to like really get invested into it. And for the most part, I just don't see that happening. But I did like what I played and I could definitely see the appeal of it. The other game that I tried out was the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves beta. And Devin, I'm sure you can piggyback on this one if you want to, or even Rakeem if you all have things to say. But I actually ended up taking this off of my fantasy critic list because I'm not. Well, I guess hear me out. I don't think that. So let me get the positives out the way first. I do think the game looks really good. Like I think that this is probably the best art style that SNK has put together for a game. Period. Like it really pops. Like it's almost like a comic book come to life in a sense. Like I really wish this is how Marvel Infinite had looked. I think if Marvel Infinite had looked like Fatal Fury,
it does now.
It would have been fine. Yeah, from outside help. Like I'll put it this way: if Capcom, when they eventually do revisit the series, hopefully they'll take it down this direction or their own form of it.
Yeah.
I think that mechanically it has a lot going on. There's a lot of depth there that I think not only veterans but newcomers, that for all those that say like, oh, fighting games nowadays are too easy, like all you gotta do is just A, B, and C and it's just too simple to figure out. You ain't gonna simply figure out Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. There's a lot of mechanics going on. Even people who are used to the series, when they were getting into it, they were talking about there's a lot to take in here and it's going to take some time before you really can figure everything out. And of course, you know, without training mode in a beta, there's only so much that people could do. I think the characters that he selected so far, they're all really cool. And the ones that they revealed that we didn't get to try in the beta, I think that those will be great as well. The only thing, probably some of the biggest things I'll say about this game is, while I think the fighting and everything itself is solid, like the characters are solid, roster, it feels like a game. And I know, Devin, you spoke on this on Input Output, which if you all aren't aware, Devin's part of a podcast / YouTube channel, TVFGC. They do Input Output where they talk about different fighting game topics and they address this. So, you know, check out that channel and check out the video if you want to. But it feels like a game that is kind of stuck in the past while also being modern at the same time. It's like the menus feel kind of dated. The approach to not the approach to matchmaking, but the approach to the way lobbies work. Just, I guess what I'm getting at is when you have games like Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6 that have kind of set the standard for what a modern day fighting game should look like a AAA modern day fighting game. And those games are getting like 9 out of 10s and everything. This game, it doesn't have those functions, and I think as a result, it's not going to be like the highest scoring game. I think it will do fine as a game for the FGC. Like I'm not saying that the FGC, it won't have any appeal towards them at all. I think it will, and I think for the most part, it'll be a fine game, but I don't see it being like a high score like a Tekken 8 or a Street Fighter 6. I think this game will probably be like low 80s at best, and that's not a bad thing. Like the other King of Fighters 15, that game got like an 80 or so on like OpenCritic and Metacritic, and that game was totally fine. Like people who love KOF, they played it and are still playing it, and they enjoyed it. And I think those same people, they'll transition to this game, and you'll have newcomers that'll come in and they'll find some enjoyment out of it. But I think from like a critical standpoint, and I guess also keep in mind, we haven't had access to the RPG mode or like the other big modes they have planned for the game. But just based on what I saw for the beta, personally, I feel like it's not up to the level of a Street Fighter 6 or a Tekken 8. I think it'll be fine, but it's not going to be great, is essentially what I'm getting at. So, you know, that, like I said, that is not a bad thing, but it just is what it is. I think that hopefully SNK can kind of let the game cook a little bit more. I'm hoping that, but, you know, we'll see. I know there were people that were making the call to have them push it back and release a better product. But, you know, that's up to SNK at this point. They may have their heart set on that April. It comes out, next month. So they might have their eyes set on that release date. They might not want to release it later because they already have plans for, I think, like Evo or World Cup and whatnot. And if they delay it, then all that gets pushed back as well. So
you have something else in the pipeline?
What, SNK?
SNK.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a Samurai Showdown RPG, I believe they're making.
Yeah. They do have some other stuff in the pipeline.
They may try to fix it in post, as they say.
That's probably what's going to happen. The thing is, that happened with KOF 15 too, where when it came out, it had matchmaking problems. It didn't have crossplay. This one will have crossplay, but it seems like they didn't learn enough from King of Fighters 15, and some of the problems still transitioned over. It's like matchmaking, you should have figured that out by now, because that was a huge issue with the last game. Yeah. So fair. I don't know. I feel like SNK should have had a beta for this game long before the release date. Like they should have had a beta last year, and then that way they could have learned from it. And then they should have done a second beta at the time that they did the first beta, just to make sure that, you know, they could smooth out all the issues. But now I feel like if they're trying to make this release date, it's a little too late to be ironing out issues. I mean, there's only so much that I feel like you can do with just a couple of months of development, you know. We'll see.
There's talks of a second beta potentially.
Yeah, I did remember hearing that. Yeah, that hopefully they'll have a second beta maybe this month or early April, but
you can't.
Like you said, Rakeem, that's too close.
Yeah, the only thing you'd be able to the only thing you'd be doing for that second beta is testing to see, like, can our servers take it and this and that. Like, other than that, like, you can't. There's no big changes you can make within like a month's time.
I just want to play T-Sock without lag, man.
everything Terrence said is spot on, because you might have been right to take it all, because I don't know if this game, like, the online was pretty non-functional, and this is a fighting game in 2025, and if you don't have good online, that's going to be a big major hit to it, because people won't be able to play people that they're not close to, like practice. So I don't know. And there was literally a website for KOF 15 that was like counting down days. Hey, does the game have good online yet? Oh, it doesn't. All right, cool. 5:45. Let's have good. And it finally like got good online or something. And I just bought that recently just because I had an itch for KOF after playing the City of the Wolves beta. And the menus, I'm like, what? Like, who is designing these menus? They feel so like archaic. The text looks terrible. Like, I thought MK1 didn't have the greatest. Like, some of that text just looked placeholdery, but it was better than this. Like, this just looked like something 2001. I'm like, bro, y'all got the Street Fighter 6 out here got these these crazy design menus and interface and lights and like, bro, y'all gotta do something. Tekken got that character models in the menu, and y'all just got fight ranked. Like, bro, come on, man. You got to do better, man.
That's why Street Fighter and Tekken are at where they at. That's why SNK is at where it's at.
If anything, I saw people say that it made them appreciate how much Street Fighter, because I mean, there's been a lot of complaints against Street Fighter 6. Some of them are warranted, some of them are maybe a little overblown, but playing a game like City of the Wolves makes you realize, oh, there was a lot of effort that was put into Street Fighter 6 and making it the way that it is despite the complaints. So, like I said, I want the best for SNK. I'm hoping that the game comes out well, but the beta didn't leave the greatest impressions on me. I'll say that. Moving on, though, the last game that I'll talk about is one that I picked up this week because I saw it on sale, and it was also a game that it was one of the first games of this year that got really high marks. I remember seeing on OpenCritic and on Metacritic, where the score was at one point like 89, but then went down to like 85, which is still great. But that game is Enter Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist.
Oh yeah, okay.
The Metroidvania. I picked it up. It was 25% off on PSN. I put like a few hours into it, and I will say, as of right now, I'm enjoying it. I like the Metroidvania genre, but I will say that probably one of my biggest complaints of it is that sometimes it can feel like it's easy to get lost depending on the game. Like some games are better about it than others. Some games feel like a where do I go kind of game, where others, the maps and the layout of the areas is a bit more intuitive. This one, I feel like it's very well done. For one thing, with the map, it's good about telling you where you've been. If there's anything there of interest, you can actually like blow the map up on the screen while you're still walking around. Just careful not to do that while enemies are there, because I at one point I had it up and then I didn't realize that there was an enemy like right near me, and I was like, what the heck is hitting me? And it's like, oh, there's somebody there. The mechanics, they're really good about giving you things pretty early. Like some Metroidvanias, it may take a little time before you get certain power-ups and whatnot, and you start to feel more complete. Whereas this one, within like the first hour, I was starting to get the things that I could see the direction that we're going down in terms of the power-ups that you get, the abilities and everything. I was like, okay, well, this is really neat. Another thing is that the art style for the game is really cool. At first, I thought it was kind of not Odin Spear, but what's the studio that does Odin Spear and Unicorn Overlord?
Vanillaware.
At first, I thought it was very Vanillaware-esque when I looked at the trailers. But actually playing the game, I realized, oh, they're 3D models. They just kind of have like an anime aesthetic to the models themselves, which is really cool. Like the game looks really nice. Like the backgrounds look really cool. Just to give some background on the world, you wake up as this character, like she has amnesia, and that's typical plot stuff going on there. And she's what you would call a tuner, which a tuner, they can, to my understanding so far with the plot, they're able to restore homunculi in the world. That's another thing, is that this world has homunculi running around. Some of them are wreaking havoc, like they've gone rogue, and others, they work with the humans. It just depends. And anyway, once she defeats a homunculi, she can essentially take them, and she kind of takes them in as like a stand. Like you can summon the homunculi and use them to attack the enemies, because the girl on her own, she can't attack in any kind of way. So she uses the homunculi that she gets along the way as essentially like her weapon. So the first one that she runs into essentially acts as her sword. The second one that she runs into, trying to think, he has like a blast. Like, yeah, his function is more like just a huge blast that he can shoot out. And the third one that I've run into so far, like he essentially has a gun where he can keep like a rapid fire going as long as you hold the button. And you can use them in combination with each other. So there's the depth to the combat as well. And there's other abilities that you get that I haven't unlocked yet. So I definitely can see it being a game where there's a lot to the combat that opens up the further that you go along. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying the game. It is a sequel to Ender Lily's quietest of the nights, but to my understanding, you don't have to play the first one to play this one because there's like a certain period of time between the two. I don't know if it's like a couple 100 years or what. There's like stuff obviously that if you play the first game, like certain characters and throwbacks that will make a little bit more sense, but you don't have to play the first one to get into this one because it's like its own separate story. But yeah, so far I've found myself really liking it. I plan to play more of it, and yeah, I can see why it got really high marks. It seems like a really solid Metroidvania so far.
A nice little varied amount of games we got going on here. So the game that I've been playing a lot of lately is Avowed, and I think me and Rakeem are going to both probably talk about this game. It's the game from Obsidian Entertainment. It's the latest game from Obsidian. They've actually been quite a busy developer over the past few years, from the Outer Worlds rather, to Grounded, to Pentiment, and now this. And it takes place within the Pillars of Eternity universe, which was the CRPG that they were working on prior to being bought by Microsoft. They did 2 of them. They did Pillars of Eternity 1 and then Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. And this is like the 3rd game. It takes place in a different part of the universe, not long after Deadfire. And Deadfire does come up a couple of times throughout the game. It takes place in this area called the Living Lands. Effectively, you're like an envoy of an empire, the Adirian Empire. You're an envoy of the Adirian Empire, and they kind of send you away to check in on the Living Lands, which is a place that they've been basically colonizing. But like, there's a problem there. There's this group. Like, all of a sudden, there's this like plague that's hitting people, and they start to grow fungus on their face. And as they grow the fungus, they start to lose their minds. And they
The Last of Us.
It's kind of like The Last of Us, but not quite as there's more mysticism behind it. Because like the characters, like they grow the fungus on their face, and suddenly their thoughts start to make less sense. They're more scrambled, and then eventually they turn into full on what they call dream thralls, where they just attack anything that's not them. And I'm not sure if I don't know if this is confirmed or not. I think they like start feeding on anybody that's not them as well. I think that's kind of what was implied. But yeah, I'm about a little over halfway through. I just finished the first quest for the 3rd area. It's Shatterscarp. Got my I think the next thing I do is get the final party member. I like this game a lot. It was up in the air whether or not it was going to be a good game. I think I can safely, at least from my perspective, say that it's a good game. It's a solid 8 out of 10 adventure. Combat is about as fun as everybody has been saying it is. It's a step underneath Kingdoms of Amalur, which is like my high watermark for video games. Like that's the best fantasy action combat I can think of for a Western video game. This is a step under that, but it's still a lot of fun. Tons of weapon options, both short range, long range. Magic, you get whatever you want. And what I do like about it that Amalur did not have is that they give you the option to have weapons in both hands, but also at any moment you can swap. And so like you have effectively 2 different or 4 different options. So like for me, and for instance, I know Rakeem did something completely different, but I did wand and grimoire. So like I cast spells, and then the wand is almost like a magic gun effectively. It doesn't really give you anything else. It's just a magic gun and it shoots spells. And then the grimoire gives you spells, and if you've learned a spell, it'll let you cast the level up version of that spell. And so like I use that for like one of my loadouts, and then the other loadout is like just standard sword and shield. I've got like a flame sword. I'm actually gonna have to change that out in this area that I'm in because everything apparently is flame resistant, and I'm just like setting myself back a little bit. But yeah, a lot of combat options. I found what I love pretty quickly. Most people probably will do the same. There's a ton, like the fact that they thought to come up with so many options. I'm like, good on y'all. So many games, so many Western games in particular, often settle for like, okay, here's maybe 4 options and then call it a day. But they were like, nah, we got a lot for you. So I like that. I like the variety and the looks of the zones. The first zone is like kind of Pirates of Darkwater-y is like the best way I can put it in terms of like its look and feel. And then like the second area is like this marshy forest that's like very creepy and weird because of like the group of people that they have there. They're like called animancers, where they basically revive the dead. They're basically like necromancers, but they're like more in touch with nature than your average necromancer would be in like other fantasy settings. The writing and story, like I really, really enjoy that. It's very interesting in that you have so many options on how to solve different quests. Because effectively you go over there and you really are a colonizer, but you can decide how bad or how good you want to be. Like you're still a colonizer, but you can decide to be decent, or you can decide to be like, okay, I'm about this empire. Everything I do for the empire. So you can do both, and there are like massive things you could do. Like if you choose to be with the empire, you can cause sweeping changes to parts of the living lands. I know Rakeem, he told me about this one area where it's like, hey man, you might want to go check out what's under this waterfall. And so when you go if you don't check out what's under the waterfall, what winds up happening is an entire city gets just like laid to ruin. If you go and you do something, even if you go, you can choose to not do anything about it, and a whole city is laid to ruin. And if you choose not to do anything about it, it's like, okay, well, you straight. Or like they're still fighting, but it's not nearly as bad as what it could have been. And then there's other quests where you decide like, okay, am I gonna adhere to the lands of the law of my country, or am I going to be like, well, I'm not in my country, and so like, what do they do here? And how do I work with these people? Because I'm really just here to do a job. The only thing you're here for is to figure out, like, what is this dream scourge? How is it affecting people? How do you shut it down? That's the only thing you're there for. And so outside of that, you can pretty much play how you want to. There was one quest I did that taught me, like, hey, man, stop asking questions. Do shit. Like, just do what you're going to do, but stay out of people's business. Which came into play as another way later, because like Rakeem, he did ask questions. He continued to ask questions, found out some shit where I was like, oh, I had already stopped asking questions by this point. But there's this part where you go to like a brothel and they're like, look, we're actually shut down right now, so we can't help you if you want anything. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I can help. And they were like, yeah, there's this package that we need delivered, but it's been like held up. If you could get it for us, we'd really appreciate it. So I go and like you go and you talk it out with like some people, and you could have fought them if you wanted to. I chose to talk it out, and I like got in there, took the package, and you crack the package open, and the package is like effectively their world's version of birth control. And you get back and you talk to like the mistress of the house, and you're like, hey man, I know this is illegal in my country, and they're trying to make it illegal for your country, but I'm not gonna tell nobody. And immediately she's like, shut the fuck up. Like, if you really weren't going to tell anybody, you wouldn't say anything right now. Like, don't you understand? Like, the walls have ears. Like, people are always listening. Like, shut the fuck up. And I was like, oh shit, my bad. I ain't realized. And so after that, I was like, let me stop asking so many fucking questions and stay out of people's business before I fuck something up. And so like, it's that level of role playing that I really enjoy. I will say, the one thing I don't like. What's up?
Real quick, I just want to ask. So it like gives you the option whether you can tell them that you won't tell, or
yes.
Okay.
Yes. More than that, it gives you the option to snitch.
Okay.
It does.
You can literally just go to like the emperor, or like not the emperor, but like the ruling guy in the area, and be like, hey man, the brothel, they've been smuggling in this shit that they weren't supposed to have. You can snitch if you want. In fact, you can give it to her and still snitch.
You sure can.
So like, there's a lot of options available to you. I just choose to be like a cool guy about it.
I was gonna say that sounds like that's easy fodder for going down the evil route.
Boy, you can be evil as hell in this game.
You really can be. Yes,
you can do so much shit just to sell people out, screw people over. So I fuck with that, even though like that's not my path. I like that the option is available to people. The things that hold it back from being a great game all really come down to the same thing. And I'll just start running down some of the things, and I'll tell you it's all symptoms of the same problem. The enemy types are kind of repetitive. There are a lot of bears. Every area has some bears for whatever reason. I'm like, damn, I didn't know bears existed in this many environments. Like, how it went from the beach to like the forest, which the forest made sense, to like the desert, and it's still just bears everywhere. I'm like, damn, where are all these bears coming from?
Yogi, Smokey, Winnie,
all of them. I'm fighting all of them.
Who bother?
Shit.
The We Bear Bears.
we bear bears. I'm fighting all
bears.
of them. Yes, sir. I'm like, damn, there's so many bears. And they usually introduce one or two new enemies per area. So like when you get to the first area, it's like bears and spiders and these lizard people called Zarups. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the Zarups are in every area. You'll see them repeatedly. You'll see the bears repeatedly. And then like in the third area, they introduce like the dream thralls. You start to see more of them. And you start to see like these big ass bugs and shit. And I'm like, man, I really wish there was more variety here. There's a lot of variety among the human enemies because they'll have different types of classes. Effectively, you're fighting different classes of humans. But everybody else is like, man, I've seen this already. Another thing I don't like, the party system, you only have 3 people in it. So it's just you and 2 people. And then like, as if that's not bad enough, there's only 4 people, period. You and 4 assistants, like 4 companions. And I'm like, man, that kind of sucks too. And like normally in Western RPGs, at least, there's always like you'll do a quest to get to know some characters or to get to know a character. Like this one character will have this one thing that you'll want them to do. It's a BioWare staple. It's been in Western RPGs dating back to the PS3 era, really, and probably further back if you talk about CRPGs. And it really all just boils down to the same thing. They clearly had to scale this game down.
Yeah.
And if not scaled down, they like the budget they thought they were going to get is not the budget that they got. There's very clearly some problems where you're like, man, I wish this was here. I wish this was here. And it's just they needed to get the game out and did what they could to get the game out. Like, because it's fascinating. Excuse me. It's fascinating to me that they only have 2 companion quests and 4 characters. I'm like, what are we doing? And I guess they could kind of try to explain it away and say like, oh, well, the quest that you get to get them in your party is a companion quest. I'm like, man, that's cheap as hell. You're being cheap. Like, you're not fooling me. I know what happened here. You had to get this game out the door, and you were like, look, man, we can't waste no more time with this. Just get the game out. You cut that quest. It's okay. And the only other thing I don't like is, go ahead, Keem.
I was about to say, I like Dragon Age Veilguard wasn't a perfect game, but the character specific quest in comparison, it's not close. Like they went well above and beyond with the character quests in Dragon Age compared to this game.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to go back to Dragon Age the Veilguard. I never got a chance to really dig my teeth into that one. Like I played maybe an hour and a half. This I'm 25 hours in, 26 hours in. I'm definitely gonna finish it. Definitely enjoying myself. But yeah, like it's one of those cases where like, man, I really hope that this game continues to sell and continues to do well because this game is good, but an Avowed 2 could be something special. Like, now, granted, I wouldn't want it to take place in the Living Lands, but I would want them to build on what they've already established here. Mm-hmm. And there's ways to do that. And then like, okay, here's a new area, and here's some familiar enemies, but also a bunch of new enemies, a bigger party, like just effectively what it looks like they're doing with the Outer Worlds too. Where it's like, okay, well, now that we've got everything, a base established, we're going to expand on it, and it'll be a bigger, better game. And so, like, I hope that's what we wind up getting. Rakeem, I know you've been playing Avowed. What do you think of it?
Oh man, so my experience with Avowed, when I got Avowed, I got Xbox Game Pass like the week before. I was like, if I'm gonna get this game and it's coming out, I might as well get it on Game Pass. I had been kind of itching to play a Western RPG because I've been playing JRPGs like crazy this past year. Like, it's basically all I've been playing, including technically Elden Ring, because that's a JRPG technically. So I was like, man, I kind of want something a little different. So I was like, at first it was Dragon Age, the Veilguard, to go back to Dragon Age, an old series I love. And then now with Avowed, the first thing I can say is that when I played the first couple levels, I was immediately like, this is for me. I have always loved games that have a high level of like puzzle solving, exploration, and good combat. Avowed has all 3 of these things at high level. They have really good exploration. There's like crevices and caves everywhere. They deal with verticality, going underwater, hidden paths, using your party members' abilities and elements and stuff to scale areas. Like you have areas where you have water. You need to go to another side. You throw an ice grenade. You can jump on the ice pad and go across. You can electrocute water. So if you want to have enemies in the path of water, you can electrocute the water and hurt them.
There are doors that only open if you like use electricity on them.
Correct, and you don't have to always use abilities. If you have a weapon as an element, that works too. So you have a lot of variety, and then the combat feels so good, man. Like one problem with Western RPGs, and like we can talk about this, Skyrim is a legendary game. Its combat sucks. I don't care what anybody says. Game is incredible. Combat is like it's all like the old school Elder Scrolls games had terrible combat. Avowed's combat feels way more modern, way more intuitive. It feels immediately gratifying. It feels meaty. It feels punchy. It feels reactive. And then there's a lot of ways to build yourself. Now, it doesn't have like all the RPG bells and whistles, which is what you sacrifice sometimes when you lean more into an action direction. But it does enough for me with how I like to play that I am very satisfied. I'm currently doing a very different build than Sage. I'm using dual wield pistols and a long rifle. So I'm going full on like Ranger gun. So one interesting thing about this universe is it does have guns in it, which is a lot different from a lot of Western RPGs that don't really delve into that as a weapon type. And I love playing dual pistols. I got one that's got electricity on it, another that has like a headshot, bullets will ricochet to other enemies. You can slow down time and charge it. You can slide and shoot. Man, there's all types of stuff you can do in this game that I like. And because the combat is so good and the exploration is so good and there's a lot of stuff to do, and it does have the puzzle elements to it and the RPG elements of there's a variety of ways to tackle things. There's a variety of ways to do your quests. You can dive deeper into the information if you want to and learn things about the world and the universe. That alone just has me intrigued and enthralled. It had me play this game like all day when I first got it. Like I was like, I'm in. This is way better than.
Keem told me that the game crashed for him when he played for like 7 hours, and I said, "Jesus, Keem, I have not played this game for 7 hours in one sitting, even once."
I might do it today. We're gonna find out. But yeah, so I will. I've been playing like crazy. I'm playing on like a gaming laptop. I don't have the best setup. And I have an extra drive attached to it for space. So I don't have the best gaming setup, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm liking it. I think it's better than a lot of reviews made it out to be. There are certain elements that are like there are certain weaknesses, like Sage said, with the repetitiveness of enemies. I'm about like right before where Sage is at. I'm at the point where Sage is at. Work kind of came up, so I haven't been able to play as much this week. But I will say this: even with the faults, I've loved this game, and I'm looking forward to anything they put out after this. Like, the game is made me so like warranted. I got the original Pillars of Eternity the other day just to get into this universe. The universe is really interesting.
Yeah,
the relationship they have with their gods, the relationship of like how old everything is, the different races, unique races they have,
the truth behind their gods,
the truth behind their gods. Like that got me. I like, all right, I need more from this. I don't care if it ain't a game, an animated series, a book, something. Like I need more from this universe. And that's the type of thing that makes a series kind of stay. When you have enough meat to bite into. I remember some people were talking about this is like, if you were a Pillars of Eternity fan and played this, it hits way different because you understand more about the culture and what's going on in this world. And like, it just like hits way different, especially like the new revelations. They weren't scared to put new stuff in this game too that expands the lore that they already previously established. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with Avowed. I've been enjoying it a lot. So I'll move on to other games I've been playing. The next big game
hold on, before you go. I know Devin, you've got to go. So if you need to just bow out, we understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear what everybody else had played, but I know Keem been playing. I know some of the games he's been playing. Definitely Yakuza.
Oh yeah,
I know he's definitely going to talk about that one. But I've got to go to work, so glad to be able to share these games with you all and talk some more gaming stuff. Catch y'all on the next one, peeps.
All right, bro. Okay, so the other game, I do want to go ahead and get these last couple games out real quick. The other game that I've been playing a lot of, or trying to play a lot of, is Trails Through Daybreak 2, Crimson Sin. I really enjoyed Trails Through Daybreak 1. Fantastic video game, fantastic cast, really. And so I was super excited to get into the sequel, but I've been trying to play that game on Twitch, on stream, and I've been doing kind of a bad job of it. Work's been getting in the way. But I'm about halfway through Act 1, Part A, and this is a very interesting game in terms of how it's laid out compared to the other Trails games. Other Trails games, this is more like Trails into Reverie for people who've played that game. Other Trails games are a linear narrative. It just goes from beat to beat to beat. And, of course, you have your plot twists and things like that, but it's still just very linear in nature. This is not that. This is, okay, you're taking this group of characters, and they're going to go to this city, and stuff is going to happen to them here. And then a whole other set of characters, stuff is going to happen for them over here in a separate act. Well, in the same act, but at the same time, like happening at the same time. So like there's Act 1 Part A, and then there's Act 1 Part B, and the game is like that for the entirety of the game, as far as I know. And then there's some other stuff in there that I don't want to spoil for Rakeem if he hasn't done any like research or anything like that, because I know
I haven't.
Yeah, you're still playing Trails into Reverie, right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I stopped in the Yakuza land, so that's what kept that up.
Understandable. Yakuza's a great game. It's always a delightful time playing in the Trails universe. Trails Through Daybreak has a massive improvement from the Cold Steel days and this is really just it only in Cold Steel, because the cast was so fucking huge. And I think they just felt like every character needed to contribute something to every scene, and they just didn't, because there's dialogue that just doesn't need to be there because everybody has to talk. And Trails Through Daybreak's smaller cast allows you to just like most people, like the characters first off, they don't feel like they have to contribute to every scene, and when they do it, the whatever dialogue it has makes sense. But it's also just a smaller cast in general compared to Trails of Cold Steel, because there were so many characters in that game. Yeah. Like by the end, it was like Class 7, which was big itself, then New Class 7, which was also big, then other characters like, you got some of the characters from Crossbell, the Crossbell duology, and all this shit. It's like, man, it's too many fucking characters, man. Like, all y'all don't need to talk. It's okay if some of y'all just shut up. It's okay sometimes to just put the big giant text box on the screen where everybody just says, right, and then that's it. Like, that's the only contribution they have to the scene. That's fine. I don't need everybody to speak up. But yeah, that helps. The one thing I'll say is, like, so far, and this is something that the reviews pointed out as well, the side quest writing in this is so good. Like, it's just been superb. Like, there was one quest that I did, because like Trails has quests that sometimes are good, sometimes are kind of whatever. And I took on one in the newest city that I was in. I'm blanking on the name. I'm not gonna try to look it up right now, but there was a quest that I took on where this chick, she was like asking me to go find like a toy box for her, like a, the kind where like the music plays and like the doll spins, like that type shit. She's like, could you go find that for me? And I'm like, sure. And I didn't think that I was like, okay, this is just going to be a nothing quest. But you go and you look for it, and it turns out that she's like the head of the daughter of a former head of a mafia group. And you're like, what? And it ties directly into the first game and really into the deeper lore of Trails. And I just did not see that coming. It was like a surprise little twist. I said, fuck, this is incredible. And that's the kind of writing that you can get when you've been writing the same consistent universe for 2 decades now? Literally.
Yeah, 2 decades, 20
because
years.
Like, we're on the 20th anniversary. So that's the kind of writing that you can get when you do that. And I thought that was awesome. The downside to this game, I miss the feeling of being overpowered. Like in Trails of Cold Steel 2 and in Trails of Cold Steel 4, you start the game at level 50 or something like that. It's like you're in the higher levels because it's effectively the second half of the first game, right? And so, like, instead of you starting over from scratch, they start you with like higher levels with mid-game spells, mid-game techniques, and then you just keep getting stronger. This, they just started you from scratch. You're like level 1 again. You've got level 1 spells. You've got all that, and it's like, man, this just feels, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. And like, quite frankly, while I liked it at first, the new system they have is it's supposed to be similar to like the spell equipment system, rather. It's supposed to be similar to the original Trails games, Trails in the Sky, where like you would equip certain spells and it would give you would equip certain orbments?
Yeah, orbments.
I don't know if it was called orbments in Trails in the Sky, whatever it was.
Oh, it's orbments the whole way through until you get to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd equip certain orbments and they would give you spells based on like you've got this many fire points, you've got this many earth points, you've got this many time points, and so you get this spell. So like you might have like it'd be like, oh, we need the ultimate spell would have, you need 8 time points, 8 mirage points, 8 space points, and you have the ultimate strongest spell in Trails in the Sky. And this game kind of imitates that in a way, and I don't like it. Like at first I was like, oh, this is kind of clever, but now thinking about what you could do in Trails of Cold Steel, I'm like, that had so much more customization. I kind of wish they had just stuck with that. That's one thing that I don't like as much. And then the other thing I don't like is that the mini games in this all suck. Like every mini game is bad. The fishing game comes back. It was not in Cold. Like there's always been a fishing game in every Trails game except Daybreak 1 because they didn't have time to put it in there. And so they added one for 2 and it sucks. It's so much harder. It's so much more timing based. You have to pay, like, if you wanted to do it in other games, it was like, yeah, sure, why not? You can do it. It's easy. This, no, you got to pay attention. It's like a whole sit down and you got to get the timing right and all this. And like every second, like
mini game, man. That's exactly all I want to hear.
I mean, it's
specifically fishing, nothing else.
It's in there. You might like it. I'm like, man, it's kind of annoying. And I hope that when I get to the end, it's not that bad when I'm catching like the highest level fish. Because I'm going to try, because like you always get something out of catching all the fish. You'll either get like an accessory or a magic spell or something. So I'm going to try to catch them all. So, and then the other mini game is like there's a trailing mini game, which makes sense because you're part of like a detective agency. But it's like, oh my God, it's the worst trailing mini game ever. Like I thought Judgment was
Judgment?
Judgment's not that annoying. It's slightly annoying. This is infuriating because like no matter how far behind the target you stay, the meter for almost getting caught is always there. And it's always growing. Like, no matter how far behind the target you are, it's always growing unless you're hiding behind something. And it never calms down unless you're hiding behind something. Judgment had it better paced than that. This didn't do that. It's like, oh my God, why? So that was a little frustrating. But I think they can keep the trailing mini games to a minimum. And I haven't tried the basketball mini game. Hopefully that's not ass. We'll see.
I saw that basketball mini game. I was like, ooh, y'all need some real hoopers to program
this.
Man,
they needed some hoopers, bro. I ain't want to play 2K in this game. Not. It's weird. Like, I knew that it didn't surprise me when I heard that there was a basketball mini game because I knew for a fact in Daybreak 1, there's a basketball park. And there's a bunch of kids around that are constantly playing basketball, talking about games that they have. Because, like, with Trails, one of the unique things is that after every major story event, all the NPCs change dialogue.
They do.
New things have happened in their world, just like new things are happening in your world. And so, like, there are always these kids that are at this basketball park in Trails through Daybreak. And I was like, okay, I bet Daybreak 2 has a basketball mini game. And it does. And I'm like, okay. Hopefully it's not too ass. And hopefully, if it is ass, there's nothing to be gotten from it. Like, okay, if you beat everybody, you get this super powerful spell. Fuck no, I can't. I'm gonna tap out at that point. These games are long enough. Try this. But yeah, I mean, I'm having a blast with that game so far. I can't wait to get back to it. I'm gonna try to play it on Monday. Actually, no, I won't, because I'm gonna try to live stream the mix on Monday, which is like an indie game showcase.
Okay.
And so that'll be at I think noon. Noon, or either like noon or 2:00. So what's up, Keen?
Where can they find you on Twitch, brother?
Twitch.tv/Sage Shinigami, all lowercase. Thank you. Thank you for the plug. And then the last game that I've been playing, really just because Kind of Funny's been doing a playthrough of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They've been doing a Nuzlocke run. And so that's inspired me to come back to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Oh. Man, what a hideous fucking game. Just ugly as fuck. God damn.
Is that bad?
It shouldn't be this fucking ugly. Like, man, y'all make too much fucking money. Y'all are the most successful JRPG in the world, and somehow you look worse than Trails. Don't make no damn sense. Trails only sells total for their franchise. So, like, all of the fucking Trails games sell maybe 1 million copies a year. Y'all do that a week or every other week or some shit. Y'all sell 19 million copies per fucking Pokemon game. It's no excuse for these games to look so fucking ugly. But it is just so much fun catching Pokemon in that game that you just don't give a shit. You know, I don't give a damn. I had to do the thing when you put down a game and it's been months and you forget, like, okay, how does everything work? How do the controls work? Where the fuck am I? Like, who was I fighting? I had to do that, and once I figured that out, and that was like a whole hour-long session, and then I had to go back to do some work stuff, and I like put the game down. But I came back to it. I'm on the 6th gym, Montenevera or whatever. It's like a ghost gym. I haven't really leveled up any dark ghost types yet, so I have to grind for it. I went and found the gym because the open world is a cool idea. They should have done that a long time ago, but it's, I mean, like, when it's graphically like this, it's like, damn. But still, like, it's fun going around and finding cities and shit. That part I'm having a blast with. It is weird playing this game after playing Pokemon Red. Like, I played Gold and Silver, but I mean, like, I think I played like maybe half of it. I might have beat the first way. I didn't go back to Kanto. I can tell you that for sure. I like went through Johto, and then after that, I was like, all right, I'll get to Kanto, and I never did. I played Pokemon Red so many times. I have pretty much everything memorized, even now, like the routes and like what Pokemon you could catch.
I was the same way.
Because I mean, like, it's so much more limiting, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. It just is, like, very early on. Like, that's the thing that I had to adjust to. Like, it's weird playing this after Pokemon Red. Pokemon Red had, like, you were lucky to get a full party, and you had to work for that full party by the time you got to, like, the first gym. You know, like, you'd have your starter Pokemon, you'd have Pidgey, you'd have Rattata, you'd have Caterpie, you'd have Weedle, and then if you really grinded for it, you could get a Pikachu. And you kind of needed the Pikachu if you started out with Flame, because somebody had to use Quick Attack. Pikachu learned Quick Attack, and that was the only way you're going to do any damage to the Rock type. Also Spearow. You could get a Spearow. And that was it. Like, before you got to the first gym, you could catch a total of 7. I might be missing 1 Pokemon, maybe 8 Pokemon. That's it. This game, like, man, it was just Pokemon everywhere. Like, I didn't get to the first gym. I had captured like 20 plus Pokemon. I'm like, God damn, like, these options. So it's kind of fun coming to it as somebody that had never played a Pokemon game since like 8th grade, you know. And so it's been like 20 years, and I was like, okay, I'm having a good time. I wish the game was prettier. I wish they put the same level of work into their graphics that Monolith Software does, because I mean, like, every Xenoblade game is fucking gorgeous. Even Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, they haven't done as much work to that as they did to Xenoblade 1, but it's still pretty. It's just as pretty as it was when I played it on Wii U. Hell, that game motivated me to buy a Wii U, and if not for other methods, it would motivate me to get a Switch one. So, fantastic. I can't wait for that game to come out. One last game, and then I'm going to give it to Keem. Baldur's Gate 3. Getting back into that a little bit. Had to do the same thing with that I did with Pokemon Scarlet.
How does this shit work again?
And because it's a CRPG, you really fucked. So I'm like, what the fuck going on? Trying not to use no spells.
That game has a hella learning curve, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Spell slots.
I was like, please don't use no spell slots by accident.
Short rest, long rest.
Yeah, all that shit. I remembered it, but I was like, okay, what do all these fucking buttons do? And it took me a while to like I'm like, okay, let's. And I think I spent like maybe 30 minutes trying to figure it all out. And I finally entered the Underdark to start Act 2. And that's about the most I've done with it. Because I'm still rotating through all these different video games. So that's where I am with that. All right, Rakeem, what other games have you been into?
So the major one, anybody who's friends with me or knows me knows I have been playing the hell out of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. It is ironic. I think the same time last year, the exact same thing happened. I think I was playing like Cold Steel 4. No, it might have been 3. Cold Steel 3. And I was still finishing up 3, going into 4. And I started, and then I just on a whim started playing Like a Dragon 1 of Yakuza 7, and I fell in love with the game. This time I was playing Trails in the Reverie, and on a whim, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get Infinite Wealth. Played Infinite Wealth, fell in love with the game. Bro,
fantastic game.
This has become one of my favorite RPG franchises, period. Like, it just does everything I want from an RPG. Great cast of characters, fun combat, even more fun. They made it better. They improved everything.
Great
class system is fun. Exploration's fun. It's like the biggest combo of like a JRPG and GTA a little bit with the freedom, with like how the city works. Like the urban environment adds a lot to it. Cause there's nothing really like this. Like this modern where you just walk around the city and you hit somebody. If you're in the street, you get ran over by a car. You got the beach out there. You're in freaking Hawaii, so the setting is beautiful. There's cool shit going on.
Nobody else does Hawaii.
The setting is cool. The story is bonkers, but the story's always been bonkers, so that's not crazy. And then like you have the anchor of Ichiban being this really endearing, like love, like over his head character in a lot of cases. Like he's gotten better about it, but he's always kind of like just kind of going a whim. He just has his heart of gold. He's so likable. And the other characters around him, even the people who fuck him over, find him endearing. I just really, really like the Like a Dragon series, the new era of Yakuza. I was a big fan of the old Yakuza. I remember like I bought a PS2 in college again after I sold my PS2 in high school to play Yakuza 1 because I wanted to play that series that badly. Like I love Yakuza series, and to see how it's grown over all these years is kind of brings joy to my heart that it's hit the heights I never thought it could hit. It was such a niche franchise when I first started playing it. But yeah, there's a lot of things to like about the game. Like I fell in love with the Pokemon mini game they have with the Sujimon. I got really into that. I became the Sujimon master, beat all the Elite Four of that universe, and like won the tournament at the end. They have this mini game where you're running a resort on an island. You got to clean the resort and fight off pirates Dundoko Island, and you got to clean up the resort and like fight off pirates that are just throwing trash everywhere. And you got to build buildings up on a resort. You get people to come. You got to make sure they're happy over the course of their multiple day stay. And based on how happy they are, you get money for it. You re-put money in. It's a huge mini game. I was like, yo, this is so much. Like they put so much content in these games, and you can tell they're a lower budget studio, even with the content they put into it. But the amount of content they put into it and how good the games look now, it doesn't feel like it's a lower budget studio anymore. Like it just feels like you're getting, comparatively with other RPGs or other games in the genre, you're getting way more for your dollar. Like it's, if anybody wants to even try these, just jump in.
And they always on sale too.
They always on sale. They're on everything. You can buy them. They on sale. They have the collections. Just try them. Like I really recommend playing these series, especially Infinite Wealth, the most recent one, which is the highest reviewed Yakuza game, and
yes,
one of the best selling. So yeah, I would definitely jump in on that. So yeah, I've been enjoying that a lot. Otherwise, I've also been dabbling in some other games that Terrence and Devin mentioned. Marvel Rivals. I knew from the get-go that I was going to like this game. Everything I saw, I was like, yeah, this is it for me. Every preview was positive or mostly positive. The amount of characters they put into the game. When I saw the launch roster, I was like, they got it. They understand what the fuck they doing. And I played the dog. I'm going to probably play something today. The dog crap out of this for like 2 months straight. My friends got into it. I just like how it feels like when you play Marvel Rivals, when you jump in, something just feels right. Like it feels like you feel powerful. You don't feel super weak, or it's not too complex. Like you can destroy buildings. The characters, their movesets outside of Magneto, I think he could be a little bit better. But everyone else, everyone's moveset makes sense. They feel like the character. They feel true to the characters. And I respect, like Terrence said with the art style, I respect it a lot because although they're still doing things to tie into what's going on with Marvel proper and the MCU, they're not tied to it. They look differently. The story they're trying to tell in the game itself is a different story. It's its own kind of mash of like different ideas, multiverse stuff. And so you get all these crazy designs for characters.
What Avengers should have done.
Yeah, and because of it, it doesn't look generic. It doesn't look uninspired. It looks like they're doing their own thing and they have a respect for the IP too, because it's still true to the characters, even though they look differently. Like I love playing Black Panther in this game, how mobile he is, and like he's like an assassin. Like he gets to the back line, he just wrecks your backline character. And he's really hard. He's hard to shoot because he's so mobile. I like playing The Thing. He's the most recent addition to the roster. He just feels like you put him in the front row and he just throw hands. He just like, what up? I don't care what's finna happen. I got a hand. I'm hitting the ground. Shit coming up. I'm stunning people. I'm protecting my boys. He can leap to his party members and protect them and shit and get in front of them. It's just a fun character. And like all the designs for the most part are similar to that. Like they feel true to the characters. They're fun. It's immediately fun. And I think the dynamic of how like you can do combinations of abilities with other characters, they have combos. It feels like it almost feels like playing a PvP Ultimate Alliance at times. Where like you have the combo abilities, you have like 6v6, and like your shit synergize with each other. Like most recently, Johnny Storm got added to the game. Johnny Storm has an ability with Storm. He can make a fire tornado. She can throw a tornado out. He can put fire on. They got fire tornado. He can use an ultimate. Like that's super unique. Like I just like that they took a risk with this game. I wish more games that had IPs like this would take risks with the IP itself and not be too safe and just have fun with it. As if the game feels fun, the people will come. And I think that's why I think this is successful. Marvel, of course, at the top of the reason, but the game is just fun, downright fun. It feels like the fun came first before the monetization. And that's why people like it. But yeah, so I really, really dig Marvel Rivals. I've also been playing Overwatch 2 as well. Overwatch kind of had to respond to Marvel Rivals. They didn't have a choice. They were getting their butt kicked.
They lost so much of their player base.
So they've done some major shifts. Recently had like a trailer like a month ago where they're like, all right, we doing some new shit. All right, we got this new system with perks, and now our characters have like modular upgrades they can do in a match. We have this thing coming out in our next patch with Stadium, where this is like this crazy open MOBA-esque mode with hella customization. I know they've worked on this, but I seriously don't think if Marvel Rivals wasn't really a threat, they never would have taken such a risk this heavily, like straight up.
Now they had to work on a good thing.
Competition matters, and I think Deadlock might have something to do too, because Stadium mode feels like almost hands to Deadlock as well, because it's like a straight up like almost MOBA-esque mode. So yeah, having the competition actually allowed me to go back to Overwatch was good for Devin because he couldn't get Marvel Rivals to run well on his PC. We've been playing Overwatch together. I've been playing both, and I've been enjoying it. Like when you play Overwatch, play Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is a much more casual, easier to pick up as far as gameplay goes, because Overwatch still feels like, okay, this is more of a hardcore hero shooter. You gotta worry about your positioning way more. There's a lot more skill-based shooting in it. It's a learning curve to it, and it's not super easy to jump into, but I do like the difficulty and the back and forth in Overwatch a lot too. So that's why I play that as well. But yeah, those are the main games I've been playing. I've been playing on my Steam Deck here and there, RPGs. I got into Yakuza Ishin. I've been playing that a little bit. Just having another Yakuza game on the tuck. It's pretty fun. Yakuza in like an ancient, not ancient, but like historical, 1800s historical type action game in its context takes me back kind of like the old school Yakuza. And I always wanted to play this game. It wasn't over here for like a long time. It was on like PS3, I believe, when it came out.
Yep, it was like a PS3, PS4 cross-gen game. It's very interesting that they just chose, they were like, if we're going to bring it over, we might as well just remake it from the ground up. It's like, okay. That lets you know just how easy that engine is as development works, right? As development goes, how easy that engine is to work with, that they were able to just be like, yep, we're just going to remake this game from the ground up and just put it out.
That's crazy. But yeah, I'm playing a lot of that. Also been playing the Outer Worlds. I like the Avowed so much that I kind of wanted to see other things from Obsidian, and I always was interested in the Outer Worlds. And now that I have Game Pass, I can just try these games. So I went ahead and downloaded the Outer. Well, actually, I bought this one on Steam because it was on sale. So I went ahead and bought this one on Steam. But I went ahead and played it. I'm enjoying that one as well. I think the Outer Worlds is not bad. I realize that the levels are smaller scale in the Outer Worlds compared to Avowed. But I do say this: the RPG elements in Outer Worlds are heavy, because there's hella shit you can do in Outer Worlds as far as RPG stuff. Like it's really similar to Fallout in that regard. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's been the main things I've been playing. A lot of multiplayer stuff from Marvel Rivals and Overwatch. Getting back into that. My main games have been Like a Dragon and Avowed. Recently took over the world for me. I was really in my happy place with that. In fact, I liked it so much, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get some older Western RPG. So I went ahead and the other day and got like a lot of them on sale. I went ahead and got Wasteland 2 again. Hadn't played that in a long time, but I really enjoyed Wasteland 2. I have Wasteland 3. I played it with my brother like a couple years ago. I went ahead and got Skyrim on my PC. I have it on my PlayStation and my PC. Skyrim gonna be everywhere for me.
I think Skyrim's on sale again for like really cheap. So
yep.
I might go back and.
Hey man, go ahead and get it for your toaster.
man.
For those who don't know, for the context, for those that don't know, the joke is that Skyrim was at one point it felt like it was playable on everything.
I mean, even Bethesda like ran with that joke. I think they like made a commercial where they pretended it could run on a smart fridge.
Man,
I think there was one where somebody did like a demake of it and put it on like a handheld. I think.
Really? I didn't know that.
I think I could be wrong, but I feel like that's something that did happen at one point.
Skyrim was never a game that I wanted to play, but some of the mods I've seen that are like basically total conversion mods. Like some of them, like at least one of them I saw, I was like, I showed it to Keem. I was like, holy fuck, this mod just completely changes Skyrim, makes the game prettier, the world like more expansive, and then like completely changes the combat.
I feel like that was one of the first games where, I mean, obviously mods existed before that, but that was the first game where like the mod community just really took off with it. Like that game is like a whole nother world when you play it with mods. And people are like really dedicated to those mods too. Like they get their own voice acting for it. It's almost like you kind of get into game development a little bit by getting into the modding community for Skyrim. It's really interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
That's Bethesda games in general, though. Like they always have had like hella mods. I think the engine has something for all the people, for all the engine's warts and people's complaints. Like I think the engine is really moddable. It's really easy to work with, and so that's why you get so many mods of that game and those games compared to others.
Yeah, look at Fallout London. That's a great example. They literally made a game. Like literally
brand new video game. Yep.
That's a straight up Fallout game. Like if you were a Fallout fan, you might play Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout London. And if you didn't know anybody, you think Bethesda made it. If you didn't know it was a mod.
Also New Vegas.
Yep, New Vegas. Yeah, that's true.
So I mean,
heck, I saw a mod the other day for I talked to Sage about this. They had one for Starfield that turns it into Star Wars, and it really
a lot of Star Wars shit they added, like lightsabers,
crazy.
And the armor, and you can have aliens in the game, which is very cool. If the narrative wasn't so like the whole focus is there life out there, I might try that mod just because I would love to see some aliens in the game, because it's like kind of annoying to be in space and like to be that level of space where you're going to different planets and it's like, hey man, all we got is us. It's just other humans. I'm like, yeah.
Mass Effect would be so much worse if that was the case. Oh my god,
man!
Mass Effect would be Mass Effect without aliens.
it'd be mass.
That's the effect.
No effect.
Oh shit. Exodus, the new game coming out, it has its own version of aliens.
Yeah,
where it's effectively like there's thanks to super nerdy time dilation shit. By the time you get there, the original people that went out the original humans that went out into space have altered themselves so much that they're effectively just aliens to you. They look completely different. The tech that they rely on is completely different. So I really hope Exodus is good. I think it finally got a confirmed launch year of 2026. So we'll see what that game looks like next year. That's probably going to suck up some of my time, along with like hopefully I'll have finished at least the games that I told y'all about on this episode. If not a couple more, because we do have some games coming down the pipeline. Atelier Yumia. That game's like coming out soon.
One. Yeah, that comes out next week.
Yeah, the reviews are already out.
Yes, next week. Shoot, there's like 4 games that come out next week.
Xenoblade's next week too.
Xenoblade.
Shoot, I can't remember. Kazan. Yeah. And there's like one more big game that comes out, if I'm not mistaken. And I think what's the game that people were doing like previews for that comes out the week after?
Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out next week.
Assassin's Creed Shadows come out next week.
That's one of them. But there's like one other that comes out at the end of this month that I can't. Adamfall. Yeah.
Holy shit! Like
that better be good. It's on my list.
Hopefully, it is good for Fallout fans. Not really my thing, but I do hope that it's good.
It's not really like Fallout.
Not really. Like when you dive into it, they've made a lot of change. But like
more like Stalker.
Even the devs were like, yeah, we kind of knew people were gonna compare us to Fallout when we first
the name,
off our trailer, the name and just the look of the game a little bit. Like without seeing more of the gameplay, you kind of fall into that. But yeah, I mean, like next week there are 3 of the 4 games or 5. 4 or 5 games that 5 that Terrence just brought up. I want 3 of them. I'll probably get 2. I'll get back to Shadows because it's such a big game, and I do kind of want to screw around with the idea of doing an all samurai thing, Samurai Summer, where it's just like Ghost of Tsushima, because that Ghost of Tsushima, which I haven't played yet, Rise of the Ronin, which I have not played yet,
I still didn't play myself.
Yakuza Ishin, and then of course you've got Assassin's Creed Shadows, and most of them take place in different time periods. Rise of the Ronin and Assassin's Creed and Yakuza both take place in the Bakumatsu period, the Shinsengumi, all that kind of stuff. But the other 2, the other 2, I think Ghost of Tsushima takes place in like the 12th century.
Yeah, it's super old.
Yeah, it's super old. And then what's the other one? Shadows takes place in the 15th
Warren
century.
States.
Yeah, Warren States period. So I mean, like that. They should feel different, even though like I know people are like, oh, these all these samurai games, like those are different eras, bro, different time periods. Like if you don't care, that's one thing, but like don't say that they're all the same because they're not. So I'm looking forward to, and then the gameplay should all be radically different for the most part. So I'm looking forward to getting into some of those games later in the summer. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap this week's episode up. Let us know what games y'all are playing. Leave a comment in the comment box below. If you're new to this, you like this episode, I need you to hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends about us, and do me a personal favor. Have an excellent week. Peace.
Now go play some damn video games.
Right.